Welcome everyone to the third Thursday meetup of the West Orlando WordPress Meetup Group. I'm Rob Watson, a co-organizer, host, and your presenter this evening. West Orlando WordPress is an official WordPress meetup group affiliated with the WordPress Orlando and WordCamp US meetup groups. AI is not going away. It's here to stay, so we may as well use it as a tool for improving our WordPress websites. In this presentation, I will demonstrate the transformative role of artificial intelligence in WordPress development. You will see how AI can serve as a powerful coding assistant for small and large jobs. You'll find out how it can be used in streamlining workflows and enhancing productivity for developers of all skill levels. I'll present various AI tools showcasing their capabilities in automating repetitive tasks, generating code snippets, and providing intelligent suggestions. Whether you're a seasoned developer or just starting, this presentation will equip you with the knowledge to leverage AI as a valuable ally in your WordPress coding journey. Learn to unlock new possibilities and elevate your WordPress projects to the next level with the help of AI. My name is Rob Watson, and I'm the founder and co-host of the West Orlando WordPress Meetup Group. Since 1996, I've been creating websites for businesses and organizations, small and large. In 2009, I founded webadextras.com as a freelance website design boutique. In 2015, I began to evolve it into a lean, full-service web agency with a specialty in maintenance, security, and performance optimization of WordPress websites. I am also a space exploration enthusiast and the executive director of innovation at theinspired24.com. My wife Shannon and I are parents to 4 children. At this point, I'd like to invite everyone to mute their microphones and enjoy the presentation. Awesome. So today's presentation is using AI as your WordPress coding assistant, subtitled Introduction to Vibe Coding. So just as a little background, when I was a young CS student, I was constantly hearing about the promise someday of natural language programming with nth generation languages. At some point, I was told you could merely speak to the computer, tell it what program you wanted and how it would work, and it would generate that for you. Given the state of programming and computers in the late 80s and early 90s, I thought that would be at least a century away from happening, and no computer or programming language I could imagine could have that much processing power, memory, and sophistication to pull that off. AI has completely changed the game, and a lot earlier than I ever imagined. So what is AI? Well, AI stands for artificial intelligence, and today's AI operates mainly via large language models. So what's a large language model? A large language model, LLM, is a type of artificial intelligence designed to understand and generate human language. It works by analyzing huge amounts of text data to learn patterns and grammar and context. So when you input a prompt, the model predicts the most likely next words based on what it has learned, and it allows you to generate coherent and contextually relevant responses. Essentially, it uses statistical relationships in language to create text that resembles human writing. All right. So what is vibe coding? So vibe coding is, in the context of AI, refers to using natural language in a more intuitive and exploratory approach to programming and interacting with AI systems. So instead of strictly adhering to formal coding practices or extensive documentation, developers might rely on their instincts and creativity when designing AI models or applications. So for instance, when using AI models, the vibe coding practice can involve experimenting with different prompts, tweaking parameters, and iterating quickly based on the responses generated by the AI. So this approach allows developers to harness the flexibility and adaptability of AI, enabling them to discover new functionalities or creative solutions without getting bogged down by rigid structures. So while vibe coding can lead to innovative outcomes and rapid prototyping, it's important to balance this approach with some level of discipline to ensure that the resulting AI applications are effective, maintainable, and aligned with best practices. So I'd like to give you a demo of just some general debugging that I have been doing recently. And these are real examples that I've actually used in the real world. And I'm using a suite called Easy Peasy AI to do the general debugging work, especially when sites break during a plugin, theme, or core WordPress update. Now, I could do those things on my own. It would take me more time, and I'm really a stickler for let's use the least amount of time to get the most amount of work done. So that's kind of where AI plays in my brain, just trying to get things done quicker. All right, so here's an example where I was doing some maintenance on a website, on a WordPress website, and it was just updating plugins. Now, this site had been neglected for about 3 years, so it had not had any updates since, 3 years ago, and it was on like WordPress 5.9 or 6.01 or something like that. So there was a lot of technical debt that had piled up over the years, and so I was meticulously going through and just doing one update at a time, trying to see where it would break. I got most of the way through it, but then I got an error. I got, warnings on the screen and stuff like that. And so I kind of decided, well, I don't have time to sit here and try to figure it out on my own or use Google to kind of look everything up. I've really got to get this done. So I went into my favorite chat client, which is called Easy Peasy AI. It's easy-peasy.ai. And this is a suite of LLMs or learning large language models where I can select whatever reasoning model is going to fit whatever I need to do. So there's more than that here. There's all these models here. So we have everything from ChatGPT 4.1 mini all the way up to DeepSeek R1. So there's dozens of these in here that I can use and choose from. But my favorite is to choose Claude 3.7 Sonnet, okay? Because this one actually has search and reasoning capabilities that I can turn on. So I can select that. And I can also, it can also keep track of everything over time. So if I do this query and I come back 6 months later, it's going to remember everything about what I did. So here's my query. I just said in natural language, a WordPress site is having trouble saving featured images on posts throughout the site. We've tried the following, and I list out all of the things that we've tried. And then I listed out what the console log says and, oh, actually, this is a different, let me just switch over to a different one here. Sorry, I thought I was on a different one. Okay, here it is. So the attached functions.php file, renamed functions1.txt so I could upload it, is generating the following warnings in WordPress. And so I get this warning, declaration of related sub-items, et cetera, et cetera. So I would normally have to just pick through all of these, this stack trace here and figure out what's going wrong and where. I have a vague idea that it's a functions.php file and something to do with this plugin here. But what I just want to shortcut this. So I enter all of this stuff in, and out comes from the LLM. It searches the web, looks for information, does some reasoning, and then it outputs this text here. So I'm not going to go through all the details, but basically it just told me here's some code to add to the advanced menu widget plugin. Normally I wouldn't do that because it's a core code thing where, if I change it, it's going to be forked, and if I update it, it's going to change it back to what it was. But in this case, this plugin has been completely abandoned, so there's no chance really of it being ever overwritten. So I just went ahead and updated the code in the actual plugin because I know the developer is not going to change anything later. So I just followed exactly what it told me to do. And I got to this part and I didn't recognize what this thing was. So I just took it out. I was like, well, that must be an error in the LLM's thinking, because what's a dot 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 doing there? But as it turned out, that broke everything. And I'm like, well, what happened? Right. So I asked, I now have this error, and it says, oh yeah, well, you need to have the dot dot dot. I'm like, oh, okay, well, what is that dot dot dot? So I can just literally ask it, it says, well, this is variadic syntax. Well, what is that? What does the dot 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 do? And it tells me everything I need to know about that. So not only did I quickly solve the problem, but I was also able to learn something I hadn't known about before. I won't go into the details of variadic parameters. It's, kind of trivial at this point, but needless to say, I got a lot of work done and I learned something very quickly. So win-win-win all around. So, all right, so let me go back to, that was that demo. Let me just go back to everything here. Let's put this up here. And we'll go back to demo number 2. All right, so this second demo is how I've used Easy Peasy AI, particularly with the Claude 3.7 Sonnet LLM, to completely transform how I write code by removing the boring and repetitive typing and coding language lookups. It also does all the searching and reasoning that normally takes me hours and lets me get to the meaty parts of the design and functionality. So now I'm going to use Easy Peasy to start a new chat. And I've already got Claude selected. I've got memory turned on. I've got search and reasoning turned on. Okay. So now I'm going to give it a basic functionality prompt for what I want to do. So my prompt, which I've already pre-created here, and I have tested this before, we'll see how it turns out this time because I deleted my test and we'll see what it does this time because sometimes it can change. So readers of blogs and online articles appreciate knowing how much time an article will take before committing to it. Write a WordPress plugin that automatically calculates and displays estimated reading time for posts with customizable reading speed settings. Okay, so I'm just going to use that as my prompt. So here you can see it's following a thinking process. It's actually reasoning based on various rules that it has, that it's also and its database of things that it's learned. So while it's doing that, we can kind of start to preview what it's going to do. But in here in a second, it's going to refresh and it's going to give me the full answer. So it's kind of thinking through everything right now. So it's generating all this code for me in real time. And you can see the sources it's using here at the bottom too. We'll stop scrolling. So it's actually going out on the web and searching up all the ideas that it can find about how to do this particular piece of coding. And I can already tell this is a very different solution than the first one it did. So maybe it's remembering what I had asked it before because it has that memory. And it's thinking, well, maybe he didn't like what I did before. So I'm going to give this a bit more sophistication. So wow, this is quite extensive. It's even doing a short code. Wow, I didn't tell it to do that. So it also, as it's doing its searching, it's actually looking at other people's code and saying, oh, here's something that somebody else did that I should just add in here. Now, looking at all of this code that it's generating, it would take me probably days to really write all of this and seek out like all the syntax I can't quite remember and do all this out of my own head. Plus all the debugging and all of the frustrating hair pulling kind of stuff that happens when you're coding. All right, so it has finished. Wow, there's a lot here. So it gives me all the documentation that I need. It gives me a short code, for inserting it where I want to put it on the page. Quite a bit different than the first one I did. I don't know if I'm going to actually install this one because it may take more time than we have to actually show you what it's doing. But really, it's, just copy the code here. Let's just see what happens. So I'm going to pull up my WordPress directory here, and I'm going to create a new file or new folder. Where's the new folder? New folder. There we are. And I'm going to call that folder that comes up. Oh, there we are. What is this called? Reading time estimator. So we'll call this reading time estimator. I'll hit enter on that. There's my plugin directory. And then in there, I will create a file with that same name, .php. So we'll rename it. Oh, wait, I don't need to do that. Just paste that in there. We'll save it as reading time estimator.php. I will save that, and hopefully that will work. All right, so now I'm going to bring in WordPress Studio here. So WordPress Studio is like a local runtime for WordPress. I'm going to stop it and restart it just to kind of resync everything. So this is going to be running on my local machine. So if I open the site, it gives me, the site there. If I open the WP admin and I go to plugins, there's the plugin that I just created. So this is what it wrote for me. It has the description and the version number, and I can fill in this stuff later. So I just click on activate. Okay, so now I have that. And so now if I want to add that to a post, let's say to this one, click on edit. And then I go back to the instructions it gave me all the way at the bottom and place the reading time anywhere shortcode into the page. You can also customize. Let's just use this customized one. Let's do that. Then we'll go back to our post. Put that in there just to do it. Let's see if this works. Doesn't work. Okay, I think it took the formatting in. Let's redo this. Let's put that right there, and we will do insert a block of code. Actually, HTML. Custom HTML. That's where we put that in. So we don't want to display it as just that shortcode. We want to actually have it interpreted. Saving, saving, saving. Why is it taking so long? That's interesting. See if it's already saved. I may have crashed. Let's try to start and stop that again. Oh, goodness. Okay, here we go. Boom. All right, updating failed. We'll just reload the site. Oh, it's not going to let me log in that way. Let me get back into Studio. That's the thing about vibe coding is it just happens as it happens. You just kind of go with it. Oh, gosh. What's going on here? Let me just restart my entire Studio here. Quit. We'll do Studio. Ah, come on. There we go. All right. Hopefully this time. Come on. All right, I guess we have to force quit. My apologies for the delay here. All right, maybe we just add a new site. Let's try that. See what happens. Okay, that one's running. That one's stopping. I did not know what happened there. All right, so now I'm going to go and just open my Finder and add that plugin in there. New Finder window. And home directory, Studio. Where are you, Studio? I'm going to just bring that plugin, copy it, paste it into the new one. Oh, not that. WP content, plugins, paste item. All right, we'll run that one now and see how that goes. WP admin. There we go. Plugins, reading time estimator start. And now we will grab that short code and plop it into here. Posts. Edit. And add the custom HTML. And save. If this crashes, I give up. Well, while that's going, I'll show you another prompt that we can do. Maybe that will recover itself. So another prompt, let's say I finished all of this and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. What if I want to change the reading time? Uh, so instead of altering a constant in the plugin's main file, add a settings menu to the plugin in the dashboard. And on the settings screen, provide a form with a text box that contains the default words per minute that we assumed most readers have. When the user enters a new value and clicks the save button, it should save the new words per minute value to the database and use that value instead. So our current plugin has that already hard coded in there. We want to make it so that it's not hard coded, that we can actually, change that setting to 300 words per minute or 10 words per minute, depending on our audience. So it does its whole thing again. So that's just a quick, I'm going to kind of exit out of this because it looks like it's not going to finish right. Oh, maybe this. Okay, let's try this. Go back to the site here. Edit posts. It's still not running. Yeah, for some reason it's just crashed. So we'll just leave that. And I will do the rest of this demo with the assumption that we know what's going on. So these things happen. Let me jump back to the demo. All right, so play. So the advantages, there's advantages and disadvantages, as we've seen. Things can crash, but the basic LLM, excuse me, basic LLM chat interfaces have the advantage of being very quick to get working. You don't need to have an IDE. You can just copy and paste everything in. But the disadvantage is that you have a lot of scrolling back and forth. You can the LLM can kind of lose the plot and not remember what you're trying to do and go off and like down rabbit holes, and you're just chasing your tail all the way through the whole process. That depends on the LLM. Some of them are better than others at not doing that. But it also doesn't know the full context of all the code in your environment. So it doesn't know that you have other files in there. It just knows that, hey, there's a plugins directory, and in that directory I put this, but it doesn't know anything else about your whole system. You could have a completely, bespoke version of WordPress, and it wouldn't know, how to deal with that. So for that purpose, we can use something called an IDE. There's one called Windsurf. It's kind of a Visual Studio Code IDE, but it's got AI capabilities. And I've extended this using a product called Giga AI Context Manager. It's an extension that you install into the IDE. So the extension's job is to ensure that the LLM doesn't lose the plot and get confused or distracted. And so it helps the LLM to understand the full context of the code base so that it knows the implications of various coding and design decisions for the whole architecture. So this time I'm going to try to fly by the seat of my pants again and hope that my more complex demo concept works out the way I intend. Again, we are vibe coding here, so anything goes. So let me get back into this. So now I'm going to open up Windsurf. So Windsurf is that IDE that I told you about. Here it is. And I have already here one that I've already made called the WP Briefing Dashboard widget. And basically, I just told it, to create a dashboard widget that will display a set of podcasts, from a feed, an RSS feed from WordPress, and just display it within the WordPress dashboard as a widget, so that when I log into my dashboard in the morning and I've got my drink and I'm ready to start working, I can like consume a podcast if I feel like learning something new. And so what it did is it says, oh, okay, I see that you want a WordPress dashboard widget that displays the latest podcast episodes from the WordPress Briefing podcast feed. And I noticed from your memory that we've already created a similar plugin. So this is my second attempt. So let me check what we have in the first before we're proceeding. So it looked through everything that we had done before. So it's context aware, and it starts its thought process. Let me check the general plugins directory to see what's available. So see, here it has it has all of the files that are in my WordPress installation. So it can see all of this stuff. And so it searches the file system and it says, okay, I'll create a new WordPress plugin that adds a dashboard widget to display the latest 5 episodes. So it goes through and it says, all right, let's run this terminal command and let's create a directory called plugins WP Briefing Dashboard Widget. Now it says, I'll create the main plugin file with the necessary code to fetch and display the WordPress Briefing podcast feed in a dashboard widget. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Okay, so it goes through and it does all that. And you'll notice here that I can actually open a diff and see the differences between the different lines. I've already committed this one, so it's all one thing. I noticed that I referenced a logo image. Let me close that diff there. Can't remember how to do that. What is that? Okay, so then it says, I noticed that I referenced a logo image in the code that I need to create for the widget. So from the screenshot you provided, I can see there's a blue logo with W. So it sees the image and can describe it to you. And it says, okay, well, I'll just include that image as part of the widget of the feed. And then it just continues down. It says, I'm going to create the dashboard widget, shows each episode with the title, date, file size, description, etc. Play a new window link. Includes the podcast header with the title, description, and logo. So it basically just scrapes that off of the other website and allows users to customize the number of episodes displayed. So it's going through all of this stuff, and at the very end, it generates the code, which you see here. So all of this code was generated in that one prompt. So everything's working there. I guess you'll just have to take my word for it that it actually works, because apparently this is not working anymore. But yeah, so that's how that works. So if I wanted to, I could start a whole new project and I could say, well, let's see, website owner, here's one. Okay. So the first prompt that I'm going to do is, Let me close this one. Oops. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to start a new prompt. I'm going to say website owners want a way to easily schedule and rotate content based on time parameters, which is perfect for promotional campaigns, seasonal content, or time-sensitive information. Write a WordPress plugin that will make a simple widget that displays different content based on time of day of week, or date range. So I send that in, right? Now we're watching it work in real time. And I haven't run this one yet, so I have no idea what's about to happen, but it's kind of fun to watch. So it's searching the file system to see where everything is, what's going on. And now it's creating the widget. Oh, this is creating a widget, not a plugin. Interesting. Well, we'll see what kind of widget it makes. Maybe the widget is the control piece to make the content on the front end rotate. But that's kind of the thing about vibe coding is like you'll put something in and it will interpret it a certain way. And a lot of times it's just GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. If you give it not enough information, it will assume and start making the wrong thing. And you can say, oh, actually what I meant was, and you can correct it and it will undo what it did and do a new thing. So, oh, there's some files coming in here. We have a time rotator widget right there. Okay, so it's made a widget for the dashboard. Allows you to display different content in a widget based on time of day, date range, et cetera, et cetera. All right, well, I'm actually going to say what I really wanted, but forgot to mention, is that I want this not to be a widget, but to be a plugin that works on, that handles content rotation on the front end. Let's see what it does. It's thinking. So it's now updating its context to say, well, what else do we have? Now it's going to call it. It's going to look for plugins with a pattern content rotator. Okay. So it looks like it's making a new plugin with a different name. And it's analyzed what it's already created. Now it's creating a shortcode. So it may be using the widget and for the back end and a rotator shortcode for the front end. Interesting. So here I thought what I was describing was don't do a widget, do a plugin instead. And it said, oh, hey, I can use the widget and then I can just give you a shortcode to put on the front end. And that may or may not be what I want. And I won't put you through the whole, agony of watching me test and run this whole thing. I just want you to see the general concept of what it's doing here. So now it's saying, hey, do you want to accept this code? I'm going to say, sure, it's brand new code. Let's just go ahead and accept it. So now it's created a new plugin called Time Rotator Shortcode. Allows you to display the different content on the front end of your site based on the time, day of week, or date range using a simple shortcode. So after you reactivate the plugin, you can use the Time Rotator shortcode anywhere on your site. And I can give it parameters. Wow, it thought ahead here. It actually gives me the ability to designate time and day and all this kind of stuff, right? Again, this would have taken me hours to do otherwise. So maybe even days, right? So this is a really great example of what I can do. And I can keep giving it new features, give me an admin interface, give me, a visual preview of the scheduled content, all this kind of stuff. So that's that's the power of using an AI enabled IDE to do this work. All right, let's go back to the presentation. Okay, so advantages and disadvantages. I got the wrong subtitle here, but basically the IDE interface. We have advantages are it understands the full context, so it knows everything about your project, and you can do the code cleanup and all the other kind of workflow tasks that you need to do. It'll do it for you, and it works really good within teams. So if you have a team of developers and you have a Git repository, it works and blends really nicely with that. The disadvantage is that it does require a bit more knowledge of how to use IDEs for programming. So if you don't know how to do that, you can actually ask an AI to teach you how to do it. Create a tutorial for yourself. And you can, it takes a little bit more time to set it up, but once it's set up, it's good to go. But it can lead to some overconfidence in the AI. You always have to test. You always have to do, the normal process of code development. But you can actually ask the AI to write tests for you. So if you want to test your forms to make sure that the inputs are sanitized and all this kind of stuff, you can have it write tests, a test, harness, and have it just go through and do that for you. So that's also very nice. All right, so moving beyond the demo, I just want to talk a little bit more about the AI evolution in WordPress for this year and some of the trends and innovations that I'm seeing coming up on the horizon and that are already here. AI tools for WordPress content creation are becoming increasingly sophisticated and integrated into every platform's ecosystem. Everything is AI now. So we have AI assisted writing and editing. That's something we're getting used to now. That's pretty common. It's advanced AI writing assistants now directly integrated into WordPress editors like Yoast SEO and Rank Math and a bunch of other different tools. You have intelligent content planning, which is really great. These tools can now analyze audience behavior and search trends and suggest relevant blog topics. There's whole cottage industries sprouting up for SEO around using AI to analyze and write content for just-in-time needs. And you can you can reduce content decay problems by detecting when your content is kind of stale and you need to refresh it. You can use smart tools to predict seasonal content opportunities before they peak. So, if you forget Christmas is coming, it'll say, hey, do you want to do a Christmas thing? Oh, yeah, sure. Um, Multimedia content generation. So you can do an AI image generation, which is very common today. It's getting hard to tell what's real and what's not, but you can do it directly within WordPress, right in the page builder. You can also do automated video transcript creation for improved accessibility and SEO, and you can do intelligent alt text and caption generation for better image optimization. So those are all options. For programming, like we were just experiencing, we have low code or no code expansion, which is AI powered page builders, allowing non-technical users to create sophisticated WordPress websites. There's a WordPress block editor and site editor becoming more AI enhanced. You have the democratization of web development through all of this AI assistance. For WordPress specific AI code generators like CodeWP.ai, which has become a leading specialized AI tool for WordPress developers. It's trained specifically on WordPress code bases, and it generates PHP, JavaScript, and plugin functionality from natural language prompts, just like we saw. That platform also now supports popular plugins like Gutenberg, Elementor, WooCommerce, and ACF, and with dedicated modes that understand the unique architecture of each one. And then you have complete plugin creation systems. So there are services like wpautopLugin.com that have emerged and as solutions that can generate entire WordPress plugins. So you don't even need to do all the stuff I was doing. You can just go and sign up, subscribe to wpautopLugin.com, tell it what plugin you want, and it will guide you through the whole process, eliminating unnecessary bloat and addressing all of the specific functionality needs that you have. And these tools now understand WordPress hooks, filters, standard plugin architecture, producing compliant, secure code that follows WordPress coding standards. So next we have theme and front-end development. So we have AI-enhanced builders like Divi AI and Elementor. They've both evolved beyond content creation to offer sophisticated code generation capabilities directly in the interface. So you can just develop your website, design it, generate images, generate text, all that stuff right inside of the page builder. It's really convenient. The code module now supports complex custom code generation, including animations, dynamic content loading, and interactive elements without leaving the builder. Gone are the days of going to Fiverr and saying, hey, can you help me write the CSS for something? You just ask the builder to do it. So theme customization tools. AI tools now help developers quickly implement child theme modifications by generating the exact code needed to overwrite parent theme functionality. So that's really, really helpful. These tools analyze parent themes and it suggests optimal approaches for customization without breaking any updates. And then we have CSS and front-end solutions. So advanced AI systems can now translate design requests into complex CSS and JavaScript solutions that work correctly across the WordPress ecosystem. I've actually done this with buttons on a website where I'm in a hurry. I say, here's a screenshot of a button, and this is the style I want for a new button. Can you just generate the CSS for it? And it gets 90% of the way there. I just have to adjust padding and margin. So it's really, really cool. So yeah, there's that. And then let's see, let's move on to the next one. So backend and API development. So we have WordPress database interaction. These tools now generate optimized database queries specific to WordPress's unique structure. And then SQL AI has added WordPress specific modules that understand custom post types, taxonomies, and metadata relationships. We also have REST API development, where the AI assistants now help developers build custom endpoints for the WordPress REST API with proper authentication and data handling. Boy, that's weeks of work that you can just get done almost immediately. Generated codes include security best practices and follows WordPress API convention. So it knows what WordPress likes. And then finally, we have integration with external services. Tools that can now generate code for integrating WordPress with third-party APIs and services like Zapier or Monday.com. And AI systems understand WordPress's transient API and caching mechanisms to optimize external connections. Whatever is in the WordPress codex, it can do because it knows all of that stuff. Last slide. Automated testing and debugging. This is really, really cool. I mentioned that earlier, where AI tools can now just generate your unit tests for you, specifically for all of your functions and plugins to make sure that the right data is getting in and out of your plugins and your functions. They can identify potential issues in WordPress code and suggest fixes that maintain compatibility. You can also do document generation. So these assistants can now generate comprehensive documentation for plugins and themes. I've done that for my clients, where when I'm done doing whatever I'm doing, I say, now generate some documentation on how this works, and I just send it to them. It's really great. And then WordPress-specific learning assistants are AI systems that now provide contextual learning resources for WordPress developers. They explain WordPress-specific concepts and provide implementation examples that follow best practices. So you can actually create a tutorial for yourself that's AI-driven, and you can tell it, I'm a very, very new beginner on this topic. Help me understand it and walk me through it until I'm at PhD level, and it will just do that for you. And finally, code review and improvement. So if you have code that you want to have reviewed, normally in the past, we would have a pair programmer come in and look at your code and say, well, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, you should tighten this up. AI can do that for you, so we don't have to spend a lot of time just digging through code to see if we did it right. It just says, okay, if you trust me, this is how you should do it. And you should always check it, but most of the time it's right. So in conclusion, all these AI tools are fundamentally changing WordPress development by making programming more accessible to non-developers and helping experienced developers work more efficiently. Rather than replacing WordPress developers, these tools are becoming essential partners in the development process and handling repetitive tasks and generating boilerplate code while allowing developers to focus on more creative and strategic aspects. The next year, we will see these tools become more deeply integrated into the WordPress ecosystem with a greater understanding of the unique architecture and conventions. This evolution will continue to democratize WordPress development, allowing more people to create custom solutions without extensive programming knowledge, while also helping experienced developers push the boundaries of what's possible within the platform.